Hi, everyone. This is Kim with Cowgirl Biz. We are super excited to be here today. We have a really fun topic called Anything and All Things Wholesale. Back in a previous life, I was involved in a business where we did wholesale shows in another industry. It happened to be the quilt industry. And so I have experience with what that was all about, again, back in the day. But I am not familiar with the WESA or the Western Industry Wholesale shows or anything like that. And as I got acquainted with Caitlin last fall as part of our Facebook group, for those of you, I think most of you are in that, but if anyone is listening and is not, we have a really fun Facebook group called Cowgirl Entrepreneurs and Innovators. And we talk about all things business and all things collaboration and networking and launching new products and how to use this social media tool, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So be sure to join the group if you haven't. And anyway, the history of this call that we're doing and workshop today came about when Caitlin posted back in December that she was preparing to go to a wholesale show. And she was asking if anyone had any advice. And Laura was kind enough to respond and give some feedback and ideas for what Caitlin should consider. And fast forward, Caitlin had the show, and she will be sharing about that at the end of our presentation and tell you what it was like for her as a first-time exhibitor. It was not at WESA, but I'll let her share that when we get to that point. And then as we are contemplating what to help all of you learn and grow in the spring here we are of 2025, we are wanting to help you understand wholesale and wholesale shows. And so I reached out to Laura a couple weeks ago and asked her if she would be interested in helping to teach what it's all about and what WESA is all about. And Laura is a beautiful individual, amazing businesswoman. She's going to share here shortly more about herself. But just before we get started, I'm going to have Caitlin start just for a very short introduction, and then Laura will let you get started. So Caitlin.
Okay. Yep. Hi, my name is Caitlin. I am co-owner of Wildflowers and Barley, which is in Springfield, Illinois. So we do a lot of custom work with hats, boots, and all of those things. And our wholesale is kind of everything hat related. So I'll tell you guys more about that when we get to my part of the presentation.
All right, Laura, I'm going to let you, I know I had said I'll have you do a short introduction, but we might as well let you get started and then go ahead and go into your longer introduction. So.
All right, very good. Let me just share my screen.
Yes, we see it. It's all good.
Okay, so is the full thing up there? You're not seeing the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slides. You're seeing the
We're
full.
still seeing the slides, so you'll have to do the presentation mode.
Okay. There it goes. Okay.
Perfect. Perfect. You're all set.
All righty. So lots of information that I have to share with you today regarding WESA, and this is Winning Strategies for WESA and Beyond. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. First of all, my name is Laura Ingalls, and yes, that really is my name. There's a backstory to that, so if anybody wants to know more, you can contact me. But I am the owner and designer of jewelry, hats, and hat bands, and I'm actually celebrating my 15-year anniversary. Started this in January 1st of 2010. I was still in the corporate world. And I've worked for some pretty big corporations in my day. I was in the human resources department. And my last 12 years prior to retiring from that corporate world, I was actually a career coach. So I coached many, many different people over the years, ranging from top level CEOs all the way down to people who are on the assembly line. And this was really my passion, was design, and I basically started my business because I was going to be turning 50 that year, and I thought, well, if I don't do it now, when am I going to do it? But I knew I wanted to go into wholesale, so that's how I started my business out. And I became a WESA member in 2011. And because of the career coaching, it just seemed to be kind of a natural fit for me to basically become a WESA mentor. So I have been working with people who are new to WESA and to exhibiting and really coaching and mentoring them to have a successful show. Okay, a little bit about WESA, and you will hear there are some people that call it WESA. It's not how they pronounce it. It is pronounced WESA. It is the Western and English Sales Association, and it's a pretty old association. It was formed back in 1921, and at that time it was called the Men's Apparel Club of Colorado. And this WESA was actually held for all these years at the Denver Mart in Denver, Colorado. That mart has since been torn down, and probably about 2 years prior to all that happening, WESA moved our wholesale show to Dallas. But I want to point out that this is actually set up as a not-for-profit sales association. And you'll see in a future slide here how that fits into some of the things I'm going to talk about. But they put this together for retailers, manufacturers, sales representatives. It's mostly a lot of sales representatives that you'll see who are part of this organization. But they have two markets each year. The really big market happens in January, and the one that's upcoming is in August. That is a smaller market. This is actually a member-driven organization. So something that you need to be aware of is that you pay annual membership dues. And I think right now they're at about $250 a year. There is a board of directors, and that really comes from, again, the membership. And we vote on our board of directors every January when there's the general meeting. There are actually 3 full-time staff members who are part of WESA, and those people are Amy Dill, she's the executive director. Then there's Jeff Hergenrieder, he is our trade show manager. And there is Sophia Agala, and she is the social media coordinator. All of 3 people are very, very helpful. So, questions, and I've been emailing Jeff on a few things and Sophia on a few things prior to this market, and they are all very helpful and very responsive. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Dallas Market Center for those of you who are not familiar with it. But this is located on Stemmons Freeway. And what I've put in here is I've put in a little map of the Dallas Market Center because this is a very, very big building. There's a lot of floors to navigate. There's actually 15 floors. And what we have here is you can see there's the World Trade Center. That is the primary building. But then off to the left there's the Trade Mart. That's about 2 floors worth. And then the other side of this is their interior home and design center. Across the street is the market hall. And there's also a parking garage back here. But this Dallas Market Center has many shows throughout the year. And I will give you a slide momentarily. I would highly encourage you to go out and take a look at the Dallas Market Center on their website, just so you can see all the different markets that go on. There are permanent showrooms primarily in the buildings, and then there are temporary booths. So there are a few floors that are just reserved for temporary booths, and then all the rest of them are permanent showrooms. One of the advantages about WESA coming to the Dallas Market Center is that now it isn't just the WESA market that goes on, But what happens simultaneously during our market is also the apparel and accessory market. And there's Kids World. There's a whole floor. It's the cutest floor with all the little kids' clothes and everything. Uh, and then our market happens. And in addition, there's also ADA, the American Equestrian Trade Association. So you'll see with the calendar dates here that some of these are Monday through Friday. Ours for WESA and for ADA are going to be no, I'm yeah, Tuesday through Friday for the apparel and accessories, and ours is Wednesday through Saturday. Okay, so a couple of things with this here with the August market date is that there's always a pre-show. If you are in a permanent showroom and you are part of WESA, all those showrooms are going to be open and buyers are already pretty much there. And they are in those permanent showrooms working on their different orders. So there's a pre-show, and that is actually the day that all of us who are in temporary booths are there on the 12th, and we're setting up our booths. But the full market then is the 13th through the 16th. Hours every day, Wednesday through Friday, I should say, are 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I will tell you, it's very important that you're there on time in your booth because WESA sometimes will take a look, and if you're not showing up in your booth, you could potentially receive a fine. Same thing with you're expected to be there all the way till 6 o'clock. And then Saturday, we end at 3 because we need time to break down. And with the breakdown, again, we'll get a little flyer on our tables in the morning saying no early breakdown, because if you do break down, you're going to get fined. Okay, the WESA contract, and so I know this is happening a week from tomorrow, but it is due May 8th. And you need to go out to the wesatradeshow.com website. And there, if you haven't explored it yet, go ahead and explore that website, attendee information, exhibitor information. But what you'll need to do is you'll need to look at at the top, kind of the banner area there, and you'll see off to the right is a sign in. And that is where you will initiate the start of your WESA membership. And then once that's all taken care of, you'll be able to get access into the full website, and you will fill out your contract and payment will be due in full. And you have to pay by credit card now. They used to accept checks, but the board decided they just don't want to deal with that anymore. So the payment is due next week. Okay. When you go to fill out your contract, you're going to see that there is a floor map, and you get to kind of say to them, I'd like to be in section A, B, C, or D, and here are the sections I don't want to be in. This particular floor map is from last August market, so it's going to look very different for this coming August. But our booths are on the 11th floor. There is some spillover to the 10th floor, and that's just because there are more and more people who are signing up to exhibit here with WESA, which is a very positive thing. But now you have a lot more exhibitors, and so they've run out of space on the 11th floor, and they will have some temporary booths on the 10th floor. That's not always true of the August market, but January definitely. I mean, they were totally sold out for the January market. Okay, so something that you need to be aware of is that, remember I said this is seniority, or it's a membership, and so there's seniority with the membership. And by that, with seniority, every time that you exhibit at one of the WESA markets, you get a point. For people who are coming in and have never exhibited before, you're not going to have a lot of leeway as to where you want your booth to be located. In other words, most likely where you're going to end up is over here in section D in the very back row, which is aisle 100. Or you could end up in section A in this back aisle, so to speak, the 900 aisle. So you don't have a whole lot of choice, but still, when you fill out your contract, take a look at the floor map and let them know what it is that you want. You have your choice by a 10 by 10 booth, a 10 by 20, a 10 by 30, or a 10 by 40. And a 10 by 10 is small, but it's certainly doable. You just have to plan how you're going to do your layout. So it will take a while to build points and for people to get off this back aisle. And if you only choose to come and do one market a year, it's going to take you even probably longer to get off that aisle. I have, as a member, and I've been there since 2011, I have built up 42 points. And I am still even though I've been told I have a lot of points now, there are people who have been WESA members for 40 years. And they get some pretty choice locations, but I usually am in section C, and during the August market, I'm probably in about aisle 400, which isn't bad. It's pretty good. Okay, so that is your booth space. I should also mention, remember I said the 15 floors, the permanent showrooms for the primarily for the Western exhibitors is on 14. Okay, so booth space. What do you get for your money when you fill in this contract? And what you're going to get is the booths, they're pipe and drape, and the drapery is going to be finally a lighter color. I asked them again, I've asked them twice about changing it from black drapes, and I think other people have also requested it because yay, we are finally going to get a lighter gray color for our drapery. And so you'll have the back side draped and then the two sides. When you go out, when you're on I should say, let me back up a little bit here. GES, that is who you have to order this, okay? You have got to order your tables, your risers, all that. You have to do it. So on the WESA website, there is on the left-hand side a whole menu of things for you, like forms for you to fill out. And there is the GES link. And when you go out to GES, there'll be another tab there for the WESA members and what is included in your booth. But you have to order this. And by the way, there is a deadline to order all of this stuff for your booth. And if you don't order it within the deadline, you're going to pay for your free stuff because you didn't order it on time. Okay. So you get your choice of tables, however many tables you want. There's 3 different sizes, 8 foot, 6 foot, and 4 foot. There are risers. I'm thinking maybe people know what risers are, maybe not, but they're kind of like the same length as the table, and they're probably about, you can see, maybe this high, 6 inches or so, and they're just boxes, but you have to cover them. You have to make sure that they're covered, but that kind of helps to elevate your display. There's also clothing racks that you can order. Chairs, you want chairs because this is a long show each day. Waste baskets, okay. Yeah, you got to order those. And electric, even though electric is included again in the booth, you have to make sure that you order it because if you don't, you're going to pay for it. And you want electric, for your laptop, for your phone, whatever it is. Something you want to make sure that you do is when you get your email, you get your email confirmation that, yep, all that's gone through. Print a copy of it, keep it I always have like my little WESA folder that I bring with me to every market. So I've got all my forms in there, but make sure that you have that, that confirmation email with your confirmation number. I kind of ran into a problem back in January of this year. I had definitely ordered all my booth materials and they weren't there at my booth when I showed up. And GES wanted to charge me a few $100s. But guess what happened? Other people didn't have theirs either, and they had a system glitch. But it would have been a lot easier for me and a lot less stressful if I had had that email. So I had a hard lesson, but fortunately, they did not charge me. Something to know that you're not going to get, and this kind of got negotiated out of our contract. We used to get carpet with our booth, but we no longer get carpet. So these are concrete floors. And you may decide what I did is I just ordered a couple of cheapy area rugs from Wayfair and had those delivered directly to the Dallas Market Center in time for the market. Additional lighting. There's lighting on all the floors. It's not too bad, but if you want, you can actually order some additional lighting. It's track lighting. You get like 3 lights and they'll install it for you and everything. And I think that's about 300 or 400 extra dollars for the additional lighting. Okay. Something else, this is all kind of what you want to be. This is really what I'm doing right now is kind of giving you all the stuff for planning. Another thing that you want to do now is you want to book your hotel. And on the Dallas Market website, they have the Dallas Market Travel Center, and they will actually, they provide discounted rates. Also on the WESA website, we have we have the hotels that are participating in these discounted rates. And I noticed that the links were not working to book them. I did talk to Sophia and she said that they are now working. But you want to book early because guess what? Again, you've got all these other markets that are going on during ours. And so, there's a lot of people. You've got your exhibitors, you've got your buyers, and you have a number of other people that attend these markets as well. So you really want to make sure you get out there and get your hotel reserved now. The nice thing about these hotels is that they do provide, and this is all part of the Dallas Market Center, but they do have shuttle services that run from these hotels right to the market center. And I will tell you, people who want to just drive their car over to the Dallas Market Center, the parking is atrocious. It is very, very difficult to park. And quite honestly, you take the risk. I just need to be, it's kind of one of those things you just need to be aware. Don't leave any valuable stuff. We should know that already. Don't leave any valuable stuff in your vehicle. I do know one guy, boy, he's really been down on his luck. He's had his truck stolen. He's had his truck broken into. So leave the car at the hotel and take the shuttle. Okay. because this is, there's so much for the buyers to see, and they have a very limited time. Some of them will plan on being there the whole time of the market. Some might come in for a day, some might come in for a day and a half. But they have a lot of ground to cover, a lot of ground to cover. So they don't have a lot of time, and they need to, if they're looking for new items to bring in to their stores, they're going to rely on the marketing to some extent. So what WESA has is we have a buyer's guide, also called a buyer's directory. And the Dallas Market Center, when WESA moved from Denver to Dallas, has now taken over the publication of that. And the person that's in charge of the buyer's guide now, her name is Jamie Majecki, and I have her email there. I also have from her, if any of you want it, you can feel free to email me, but I do have their whole uh, PowerPoint on the rates and all the advertising opportunities that they have, because throughout the entire building there's signage. You can like do signage on all the elevators, you can do signage on the bathroom doors, you can do signage on the floors. But yeah, it's some big bucks. This here, the buyer's guide, I think is a pretty important thing to be a part of. First of all, when you do sign up and you've got your contract, make sure that you select all the categories that your products are in. So if you're in accessories, jewelry, hats, apparel, boots, whatever it is, find as many categories as you possibly can to put your products so that it shows up in the buyer's guide. This here is, let me just, okay, kind of show you. Can we see that okay, Kim?
Yes, that looks great.
Yes. Okay. So this is what it looked like last year and what it has looked like for many years. This is our buyer's guide, and it was 6 by 9. Now with the Dallas taking it over in January, they launched this big, huge, huge. It's like a magazine size. And the prices went up extremely, to the point that, again, I was telling Kim earlier, I'm a little bit of a rabble rouser, looking out for small businesses like myself. And I said, wow, to go from $750 for a full page ad to now $1,250 for a full page ad, that's just not in my budget. So what they did is they said, you know what? We will allow half-page ads, and that's going to be $750. So this is now what my ad looked like in January. Very nice. It's a good size.
How many
It's a
pages?
lot of money.
How many pages is that buyer's guide,
Well,
roughly?
yeah, they really expanded this because now they're putting articles in. All the floor maps are in here, the schedule. There's all kinds of information. I would say this is now probably a couple hundred pages. But the January one is always bigger than the August one.
Gotcha.
But this is the way the buyer.
Yeah, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
That's exactly what I wanted you to talk about, is how the buyers use those.
Yeah, this is what they use. I mean, a lot of them already have their brands that they bring into their store every year. But if they're looking for new, or even if they're new buyers, they don't know where to start. So they're going to use that buyer's guide, and the ads are the things that pop out. And I know it's been beneficial for me because I have many buyers who come and say, I saw your ad. I wanted to come and see you. So it's a lot of money, but I think, with any new buyer coming in, it's kind of a must do. Yeah. So they can find you. Again, These buyers are not only covering the 14th floor, the 11th floor. Something I forgot to mention with the 10th floor is that in January, half that floor now is all permanent showrooms. So that's all new. So now they have another floor of permanent showrooms on half a floor on the 10th floor. There are other floors that these buyers also go to other products like Johnny Was, Savannah Jane. So they got a lot of ground to cover. And this is why I think the buyer's guide is kind of a must. Okay, there are other things that also happen here in that sponsorships. So what WESA is starting this year with these sponsorships is, oh, you can sponsor this cocktail hour, and there's an email that they just sent out as far as some of these sponsorships. What you'll also see on the WESA website when you are filling out your contract is this discovery runway. And this discovery runway is up on the 14th floor of the Trade Mart. And this is right outside one of the eating places. And you can actually, I think that's probably about, I don't remember the cost now, about $300 to $400 for one mannequin. And you just fill out your information, and then you have to get all your product to them on time so that they can get it displayed, and then you got to make sure that you are picking it up and everything. But again, buyers who might not be Western buyers are going to be up on that 14th floor eating lunch, and they're looking at all the products that are on that runway, and they're taking pictures. And again, we've had people come to our booth because they saw our products on the runway. There's some wildcard deals. Again, that's on the WESA website where you can say, yep, I've got free shipping, or I've got this closeout. They do take a look at it to make sure it's going to be something that they want to promote. This is kind of cool. You get a buyer registration list. So what happens is that buyers go out and they register on the WESA website that, yep, I'm coming in as a buyer. And what we'll get probably, I want to say probably maybe 4 weeks in advance of the market is we'll get the first buyer registration list. And there will be maybe the emails in there. Not all buyers put their emails in there because they know they get inundated with emails from all of us. But those are pretty valuable lists. And then there'll be another one that will come out, a second buyer registration list. I think it comes out maybe about 2 weeks before market. And so at least you can kind of get an idea of who's coming to market. And after the market, there will be a final buyer registration list. Now, something I should point out, because you have all these other markets going on, not all the buyers are registering as Western buyers. So we're not going to get, like, we might not get all those buyers because maybe they registered for the apparel and accessory market, or they registered for the ADA market. But they are pretty valuable, and I hang on to mine so that I can kind of build my contact list. This next thing here is called Wisdom by WESA. And if you haven't looked at Wisdom by WESA yet, I would highly encourage you to spend some time. This is a podcast that WESA does, and it comes out like on the 15th and the 30th of each month. It's on the WESA website, and it's right again up in that top banner section. But to listen to the different podcasts, and as far as some of the other exhibitors, and just what they're into right now. You can learn a lot. Okay. All right. How are we doing on time, Kim?
You're doing great. This is fantastic. Let's take a break
Great.
real quick and just find out, do we have any questions from our attendees here today? If anyone has any questions, you can put it in the chat, or you can unmute and ask any questions at this point. The first question in the chat is, what are some pointers for current exhibitors to stand out? Display, question mark, the order of processing orders, all digital or paper, what turnaround time retailers are aiming for, art, and then she says RTS items, question mark.
Well, that's a lot of things to answer there. uh,
Let's start with the first
so
one. So what are
yeah,
some pointers for current exhibitors to stand out?
yeah. So as far as really the thing about the booths is that you want to make them very attractive as to, oh, that buyers are really kind of are drawn in. It would just be like if you're walking the street and you're walking by a store window and you are attracted to that store window enough that you want to walk in the door, that's really what you want to do with your booth as well. Make it shoppable. Now, granted, this is an order writing show, so you're going to have samples. You don't have multiples here. It's just a sample. But it that's where you might want to also do lighting. um, if you think your products look better under light, one of the gals that I mentored last year, she is a photographer, and so she did the extra lighting just because it really helped all her photos. It made the booth, especially with a 10 by 10 booth, it can get pretty small fast. You bring in two tables and two chairs, and you've almost taken up that 10 by 10 spot. So and the WESA actually has kind of they do a little competition for people as far as, oh, to be named the most attractive booth. You can be like a booth winner for for making it really cool. uh
Yeah, those are
so
always
okay.
good to check out. So then the
Yeah.
next one, and if you want to wait till, I know you have another section of your presentation that's related to taking
Yes.
orders, so maybe we hold those questions till then.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Thanks. Okay, this slide I'm not going to spend too much time on, the move in and move out, but one of the things that you want to do if you are somebody that is driving to the market and you're going to unload, that it happens at the back of the building and it is incredibly congested. Patience is required. My husband has come with me and he runs out of patience. But what will happen before you go to the back of the building, you're going to want to pop in to that main lobby area of the World Trade Center, and you want to find the WESA registration desk, and you want to get your exhibitor badge and your packet. And otherwise, you're not really going to be able to access the building that easily. So have that right away. I want to say when you come into the back of the building, it's that first dock, but depending upon the time of day that you get there, there can be, there'll be semis. There, some of these are big companies that come in and they've got semis, and you got to wait for them to get unloaded and pull out, and you've got all these other trailers and trucks and everything. So you could be there a little while. Some people will actually come in the day, 2 days before to get set up. The dock does have carts available. You got to wait for them as well because there's only so many of them, and you have to give them your driver's license in order to get a cart. And you just be courteous. You don't want to like go up to the 11th floor and start unloading and then setting up. Get that cart back down there because there's other people waiting. But you have got to be completely set up by market time, 8:30 a.m. Wednesday. I already mentioned that, no early breakdown, but you can break down the day after the market as well. And some people will do that, again, just depending upon how big their booth is. If you're somebody who's going to continue to exhibit at WESA, and hopefully you will, they actually have storage available. And GES, you just need to let GES know that. and they will provide pallets to you. And so then you can put all of your display items on these pallets. You have to have shrink wrap and big rolls of shrink wrap, and you shrink wrap everything and put your signage on it. There's more detail to that, but again, I'm not going to go into a whole lot on this particular presentation. You guys can email me or call me and I can walk you through that. GES, again, they do have a physical location right there when you get off the elevators, the dock elevators, and on the 11th floor, you get onto that exhibit floor and they're just to the right. Okay, hopefully this part will be what answers this person's other questions. So some things to consider if you have never done wholesale before. I hope this is something that I've coached people with as far as pricing. You've started your business up as a retail business, and now you got to figure out your wholesale prices. And that has been kind of painful for people that I've coached as far as going, oh boy, in order to make any kind of money, this is what I have to raise my retail prices to in order to even make a decent profit on my wholesale price. But this is order writing. There's no cash and carry that you can do. So don't think that you're going to come in and sell dozens and dozens of things right off the floor. You can't do that. There are some exceptions to that. And that would be, let's say that you have a one-of-a-kind item, which I have a lot of one-of-a-kind pieces, my jewelry. I have a lot of one-of-a-kind, and those sell out pretty quickly because people know that. So they come and see me first. But those things, as long as it's not disrupting my booth and the appearance of my booth, I can kind of they can take them, but it's always I'm always kind of cautious about how much I do with that. There are pink forms, again, that's on the WESA website where you can get pink forms because, for instance, one of the exhibitors, a couple of exhibitors, they have these big cow hides. And so people are buying those cow hides. Well, they pull them down, they pay for them, they wrap them up, they put a pink form on them, and then those buyers can pick those up at the end of the day on Saturday. I want to go back to that minimum order. It's a really good idea to have a minimum order requirement. Um, like for me, I'm not somebody who's going to have, I don't have a huge minimum order. Mine is, in order to write an order with me, it's $500. And why would I do that? Well, because I want my products to go to that store. This is not about somebody coming in and just being able to buy things for themselves. So it's that you need to have a minimum order. You're going to write these orders. You're going to write everything out. You make sure, you get all their contact information. And I would highly recommend a two-part order form. So you've got one for obviously for your records, and the buyer wants a copy as well. On my order form, I have the reseller number. If I try to do my best to collect that. I have all their contact information, and I also collect their credit card. You want to get a credit card in advance. It's not, maybe you're not charging that credit card right away, but you want to get some kind of payment recorded so that you've got it, so that you're ready to charge that. And I can talk more about that offline. Again, if you decide to do this and you want more information about how buyers are paying, I'd be more than happy to share that with you. Something else that's really helpful for your booth, because buyers will show up and they're scoping by, and again, your first time that they're there at market, maybe first time they're seeing you, so they're going to ask for a line sheet, maybe a catalog, maybe a postcard, something that they can remember you by, that when they go back to their hotel they can look at that and go, oh yeah, I want to come back to that booth. So line sheets, catalogs, postcards. I always have postcards, you know, big postcards. I don't really have catalogs because one, they're so expensive to print. I'm a small business, and if I printed catalogs, they'd be out of date pretty much the moment I got them printed because I'm always designing new stuff. Um, so I have electronic catalogs. If you're giving information out, what you want to do is you also want to get information back. So ask the buyer for a business card, and that way you can follow up with them after the market. Make sure that they have their email address on the business card because a lot of them don't have their email addresses on their business card. You should have business cards as well to hand out. And something that I do, because again, like I said, buyers who are kind of scouting things out before they decide to write any orders, what I do is I just print labels. I just print labels with the floor number and my booth number, and I put that on my postcard. When I hand the postcard to the buyer, I say to them, by the way, I'm on the 11th floor. Got to make sure, because especially this year, we had so many buyers confused. What floor am I on? Am I on the 10th floor or the 11th floor? So I have my floor number on it and I point that out to them. Have price tags on your products, and the buyers are going to ask you, because everybody's different, is this your wholesale price or is this your retail price? On my products, I have all my wholesale tags on it. That way I don't have to figure things out. Okay. Any other questions about that or clarifications?
So returning back to the question by one of our participants here says, the order of processing orders, all digital or paper?
It depends on you, how you have that set up. Some people, you know, will enter it right away into their system. Internet, if you're relying on internet connection, if you're doing it that way, I would have paper as a backup. There is internet there, but depending upon where you're located in the building, it's not always reliable. And the Western buyer, they're kind of a little bit more old school. They like paper. They want to take the paper with them. And also, you know, some of the stores, what they have is they also have a PO. So you have to make sure you get that, you know, on your order form. Uh, some of my buyers, you know what they do? They come in and they have their own order forms. So we'll sit down and we'll write the order out on their order form. And then I get a copy. It all varies.
And one
But
more
I
question,
would
we'll move on. What turnaround time are retailers typically aiming for?
you always want to ask them that, because like for the August market, they might say, because I always ask them, when do you need this by? Some will be immediate. Like for January though, let me give you an example for January. Asking my buyers, when do you need this by? Most of them, because they are in tourist locations, they don't want it until now. So it'll be April, May, June. For the August market, some of them may be already buying for the fall and holidays, so they may want immediates. It also depends upon you as to your product and how long it takes you to get your product made. So for me, because everything is made here in my studio in Wisconsin, I'm usually telling them it's going to be about a 4 to 6 week lead time. So you got to figure that out. But make sure you can deliver. Make sure you can deliver the product. When you say you can do it, hold up on your promise.
Very
Did
helpful.
that answer everything?
Yep, that's great. All right, let's
Okay.
go ahead. Move on.
Okay. Speaking of more about the buyers, is let's make sure you qualify the buyer. There are a lot of people roaming around on these floors, And you want to look at their badge to make sure, first of all, are they a buyer? Our exhibitor badges are one color, the buyer badges are another color. But again, you're going to have buyers from these different markets, meaning, the apparel and accessory, or they're from Ada. Uh, so just make sure that they're a buyer before you kind of go into everything. There are a lot of people that get into the Dallas Market Center, even though I will tell you it is not open to the public. You have got to be an established business and you have got to show your credentials in order for you to get in. However, there are some people that say that they own a floral shop. They can come in because on, like, I think about the third floor, so the second floor, there's all kinds of dried flowers and things like that that they might put in their arrangements. You get interior designers that come in. So all these people, if they're there on our floor, what are they looking for? They're looking to buy for themselves. So now you've spent a lot of time talking to them about the line and everything, and you find out that they're only there to buy for themselves. And, well, I could have been working with somebody else and not taking up all my time in talking to you.
Good advice.
What I do, and a lot of us do this, is that if they are another exhibitor, I will extend what's called a courtesy order. And that means that because we all like to promote each other's products. So with the courtesy, yeah, oh, you are over here working for this company or whoever. Yeah, you can buy one of my hats. You can buy a piece of my jewelry. I will give you wholesale because you know what you're going to do? We helped each other spread the word. Beware of people who are scouting. And what I mean by that is, and this happened in August of last year, there were just people there who were looking for ideas that they could copy. And so they are told that they are not allowed to take video, they are not allowed to take pictures of any of the products, but people don't always pay attention to that. And I don't mean to be rude to these people or anything, but it's that I put a lot of time into my designs and I don't need you trying to figure out what I did and copying my designs. So just be aware of that. Other people who attend, there are manufacturers and advertisers and rodeo queens that attend. So manufacturers, they're there, and I'm seeing more and more of them lately, where they want to give you their business card because they want you to buy, say my hats, okay? So they're coming in and they're going, here, you buy from me. Here's my card. So they're trying to establish some business as well just by walking the floor. You have to decide if you want to deal with them or not. Advertisers that will be there will be people from Cowboys and Indians. They're there. At Western Horseman actually has their own permanent showroom now. Cowgirl magazine, they show up. I mentioned the rodeo queens, especially after the NFR. They'll be there in January, and there's a couple of different pageants, but you'll see a lot of them. The group from Cody, Wyoming, those gals will be there. Usually, what they're looking for maybe is some sponsorships and just networking. Other people that are there are you'll get fashion influencers as well. And there's one very popular one, Shaylee Ham, West Desperado. And she actually now kind of helps the Dallas Market Center for these markets. And she goes around, scouts out some really cool, awesome, inspirational products. And then she'll put her postcard on it and she'll help to promote that on her social media. Hate to say this, but you got to beware of shoplifters, especially if you have small items. and they are there. Buyers, yeah, we've had a little bit of bad experience with some buyers, but it's usually not the buyers. It's usually the buyers who will bring in their guests. Hey, come on in, bring a friend. And I've had that happen where I've had people from the buyer's guests who have stolen from me. Just part of market. You got to be aware. Okay. A little bit about the Western buyer profile is that they are very loyal to their brands. And this is about building relationships, but you build, they will continue to build to bring in that brand year after year. So they're very loyal to the brands. And if they see you at market and then they don't see you again at the next market, if you're there kind of sporadically, they become a little bit hesitant as to, are you really an established um, vendor that I want to buy from? Are you going to be in business? So as I said, they're kind of old school. They're a bit conservative, but they're sometimes a little hesitant to bring in new product, but they are looking for new product. It's just a matter of working with them, getting to know them, building relationships. Back to the whole thing about the order forms, they like paper. And even though my website is set up for both retail and wholesale, the majority of my buyers do not buy off my website. They will send me an email, they will call me, they will text me if they text me, but yeah. So, all right. Networking. This, I got to tell you that going to market, I love going to market because over the years, I have met so many people, the other vendors that have become friends of mine, my buyers who, I've got great relationships with, and it's always feels like a little bit of a reunion because you only see them twice a year. So what we have going on throughout the entire 15 floors are these what I call social events throughout the day. So like for WESA, we'll have kind of like a little um, Mexican fiesta with beer, in the afternoon, or we might have um, little little kind of social events that they set up on all the floors. So part of our dollars go to paying for that, but it's food, it's drinks, and coming to market, people like to drink. There so it's kind of a little bit of a party. The On Wednesday evening in the main building in the main floor, and the main floor is big. It's a big area, but they have a whole stage set up, and that is the apparel and accessory fashion show. And then on Thursday, that is when the WESA in Ada, our fashion show happens. And those are just, they're fun events. Sometimes what will happen is that you'll have the people who coordinate these fashion shows, they might be out on the floor scouting for product, and they will put your product into the fashion show. But that's kind of hit or miss. You don't know. Fridays, they usually have a whole nother event that happens there. They've had some live music that goes on and kind of a theme every year. As I already mentioned, the other exhibitors, they can be great mentors to you. And that's another reason why I do this for people is when I got started in this business, I met two people at my very first market, and they were wonderful mentors, and they are friends, and it's just something that I really, really valued in having that help. Have fun. These are long days, especially in August. You might not have a single buyer coming down that aisle for a long time. So it's kind of, you got to have fun. You got to stay upbeat. You got to stay positive. As I said, it takes time to build up that reputation as to who you are. But I've always looked at it as chalking it up to, okay, well, maybe I didn't have a good market, but I did a lot of networking. So you got to find other ways to get value out of it. Follow up after the market. Remember, you're great gathering business cards. And by the way, if they don't have a business card, have a notebook or something and just say, that's okay. I can take your name and number and email and I'll follow up. So follow up after the market as to, the people, because they don't always buy at market. Last thing here is you might consider try before you buy. You can actually walk the market on the very last day. All you have to do is go to the WESA registration desk, show them a picture ID, give them your business card, and you can go and walk the market. And come and meet me. I'll be on the 11th floor. I don't know my booth number yet. But I do want to say August market is slow. It's just not as busy as January market. So many of the Western buyers, they're going to be more in tourist areas. Some of them are busy all year long. Some of them actually close their stores during the winter season, or so it's just slower. The other thing is that August is if they are in a tourist area, that is a big time for them, and they're not going to leave their stores to come to market. So that's why I always follow up with my buyers, even if they're not at market. I will follow up with them before or after. And retailers are still being cautious in this economy. We heard a lot of that in January. January was an okay market. It wasn't a great market, not like what I've had 2 years ago. But we always are kind of in the wholesale business. We're the first to feel that, but on the positive side, we're also to feel it bounce back too. Yeah. Okay, I see there's a bunch of questions. Kim, you wanna?
Yes, so the one question that is here is for newbies, is the August market a good place to get your feet wet? Or should you wait for the January market?
Well, it's a nice way to break in, but I kind of want to say that you have to understand how much money you're going to put into this market. You might not write enough orders, again, depending upon, I don't know your products or anything, but you might not write enough orders to pay for your market in August. And quite honestly, that might not even happen in January. So I think, either way, if you have the time, I would probably walk the market first and then come in January.
Very helpful. There was one question that occurred while we were talking that Caitlin answered, but we'll just bring it up for everybody. What's your thoughts on companies supplying bank references, wanting you to ship their order to them, then paying via check after they receive the shipment? And Caitlin's answer, I would imagine, is similar to what yours will be. She said, I would advise against that. Always get payment upfront.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would agree.
However, let me just add on to that. There are some very good established companies that do pay. And I do ship product to them without getting payment first. But I do that because I know that they have a reputation for paying. And again, I'm more than happy to share more information about that, but I would do that in a personal call.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, just for the sake of time, we're going to let Caitlin talk next, and then we will do Q&A after that. But that way we get a chance to hear from Caitlin for anyone else that wants to hear that before we wrap up.
Okay, so I will stop share.
All righty. Now I gotta figure out how to share my screen. And I want to do, I always have to move all these things around so I can see my screen. Okay. So again, my name is Caitlin. I'm going to see if I can hide this panel. There we go. Okay, my name's Caitlin. I'm co-owner of Wildflowers and Barley. So I do own a retail storefront. I have an online store, and then I also do wholesale. So let's get started. So I know a lot of people are maybe listening to all of this and wondering, is wholesale right for you? And then as Laura mentioned earlier, sometimes you start out as retail and then you decide you want to get into the wholesale market and you realize that maybe your profit margins aren't where they should be. So for example, one thing I'll tell you, like this is an item that we make. They're just hand-studded feathers. I sell these retail for $10, which means I wholesale them for $5. And that means that I'm making enough wholesale to make it worth my time to make them, because you obviously have to account for your time and not just your product materials. But when it comes to these markets, making connections really is the name of the game. So here are the tips. I went to Dallas Market Center in January of this year, but it was for the total home and gift market. So not WESA, but obviously in the same building. So these are some things that I learned and that I would recommend to other people. So the first is that there's a lot of information that you're going to get from these markets in terms of like setting up and your booth space and all of that. And inevitably, there will be some things that they just don't tell you. So for example, when I went to the total home and gift market, I was not told where to park. I was not told where to unload my things. Yeah. I was not told, that there was going to be food in the building, like none of that. So don't be afraid to send emails to people, ask questions. If you see people walking around who have like the Dallas Market Center badge on, like just stop them and ask them and they'll help you out. The second thing, so again, these markets are not cash and carry, meaning people are not really supposed to be buying things and walking away from your booth with them. So when it comes to like setting up your booth space, what I recommend is setting it up to where clients can see what things would look like if they were in their own store. I'll show you pictures of my booth here in a couple of slides. So I typically wholesale like our hat bar items. So things that people can buy for their hat bars, like feathers and hat bands and things like that. So where our display usually shows them like, hey, this is what it's going to look like in your store. The other thing too is you want to avoid overcrowding your booth. There was a couple of other people who are across from us this year who they had so much stuff in their booth that people couldn't even get in to look at what they brought. Like they had every size of every style, and it was just like, it was so much that people couldn't even get in to place orders. They had to like stand in the aisle to place an order, and that's not what you want. You want people to walk into your booth, look at your things, and be able to interact with you without feeling like they're like pushed out to the side. The third thing, if you've not heard of Fair, Fair is an online wholesale marketplace, and I highly recommend getting on Fair if you are someone who can produce a decent amount of the items that you make. So the nice thing about Fair is every retailer who shops with them is offered net 60 terms, meaning they can purchase something, but they don't have to pay for it for 60 days. However, you get the money up front. So when we were at Dallas, we would actually write up our orders on Fair, and then our clients could pay for them through the Fair like app or whatever. We would get our money right away. They don't have to pay for it for 60 days. So that was really nice because Fair already collects all of their information. They're vetted as people who can buy things wholesale and all of that. Okay, again, Laura was talking about making connections at the event, and this is really, really big. So when I went this year in January, it actually snowed in Dallas, which was crazy because it never snows there and everybody panicked. And like flights were canceled. So it was actually a really slow show. However, I got to meet a lot of other people who had recommendations for other shows for us to go to. I actually talked to a lot of the Dallas market people who recommended that I actually enter WESA as well. And then you can talk with the other people who are at the market and just like make friends with them, which is this next thing, is be a good friend. Like, your neighbors are not your competition at these shows. They can recommend other places for you to go. They'll watch your booth for you if you need to go to the bathroom. I had people who would go down. So like the Starbucks is on the very first level and we were up on floor 15. So when someone went to go get coffee, they would like get coffee for everyone around them. And so that's something that you want to keep in mind, is like, you do want to be friends with these people. The third thing is playing the long game. Wholesale markets are not a place where you're going to get your sales right away typically. We saw orders coming in the days and weeks after the market. So not at the market, but later on. And then, as Laura mentioned, even if you're maybe not making sales there, you are getting your name out there, you are making connections, but there are some things you can do to incentivize people to buy from you at the show. So like show specials where you'd be like, if you purchase here today, you're going to get free shipping. You know, if you place your order today, you're going to get an additional 10% off. Certain things like that will make people want to buy from you. A few of the other things that we did, I don't know if WESA does anything like the Dallas Total Home and Market did, but they had this thing called the Power Hour, where it was basically all the participating businesses had little freebies to hand out. Like, you had to have like 50. You had to have, so I did, we make like turquoise hair clips. And so I had 50 hair clips that businesses would come, and I had attached my business card, which had a QR code, which takes them straight to our Fair account, so they can buy from us. That was really good. We got a lot of people coming in to look at our goods afterwards. It makes people remember you. The Total Home and Gift Market also had what's called an activation. So an activation is where you are actively showing your product or your goods. So typically what they'll do is they'll ask you to do it for free. So they wanted me to give away like 50 hats for free, burning them. And I told them, I'm a small business, I can't do that. So instead, they paid me to do it, which is where I'm going to tell you that you can negotiate. Like, don't be afraid to negotiate with them. They have the money to pay you to do these things. So they paid me to give away 25 custom hats, and I burned them right there at the market. So they had a specific time of day where everyone could come up and watch me do it. And I had so many people who talked to me about my business because of that, who wanted to know how I could get them our goods, all of those things. So if you are offered an activation, or even just reach out, like if it's something you can do. Another lady who did an activation did like bag charms. So you would go over, she'd have her little charm hook thing, and you'd pick out 3 charms and she'd put it together for you. And that's what her business is they sell charms. And so it was just a really great way for people to connect with her, see the quality of her goods, and then walk away with something that was free to them. All right. This is a video. I don't have a lot of pictures of my booth. Apparently I took videos and not pictures. So, but what you can see is the flooring. So we actually got, they're like those puzzle piece, like workout mat things, but they look like wood grain. And so I got them on Amazon. They were way cheaper than renting carpet from the GES. And you just put them together like a puzzle and they look great. The number of people who stopped just to talk to me about my flooring was crazy. I was like, of all the things you guys want to talk to me about, it's my floor. But and then over here on the left, you can see this is how I displayed some of our products. You know, like this is what they would look like in a store. And it really drew people in. Like, having good quality pictures, having a cute setup, it makes people want to stop in and say, hey, what's this about? You know, like, what are you doing? I had to pay for electricity at my booth, but it was worth it because I sat there and I burned hats, and that alone made people stop and talk to me. Okay, that is all I have at the moment. I'm going to exit this so that I can.
Oh, Caitlin, before you do that,
Yeah.
I was just going to say, so one of the things that these other floors have are hard walls.
Yeah,
Yeah. You pay a
yeah.
lot more for
Those right
those. I
there.
mean, they look a lot nicer and a lot cleaner, but the Western market, we have pipe and drape.
Which honestly, I've had shows where I do both. How do I get out of here? There we go.
Well, we can, yeah, there we
There we
go.
go. I was like, how do I get out of here? I've had shows where I've done both. So I've had the hard walls and the pipe and drape. I don't think it makes a difference in terms of how people interact with me as a business. So if
Right.
I can pay less and have pipe and drape, that's what I want to do personally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
But you
let's open
just
it
need, you
up
need the
for,
hooks for it.
yeah.
Yeah, I have taken some from other shows. Like when you show up, they have your business name like hung up there, and I just took those little hooks with
Mm-hmm.
me, so now I can hang up my pictures when I go somewhere else.
Exactly. I've collected them over the years
Yeah.
myself. And GES usually will have a few extra, but yeah, I've collected them.
Yeah.
All right, ladies, let's open up for questions. Anyone else that would like to ask questions of either Laura or Caitlin?
And if you guys think of a question later on, I'm assuming Laura is the same. You're welcome to message us and, ask us. We're happy to help. If you can't think of anything right now.
All right, Laura, that was fantastic. What a great overview of everything, and so grateful for connecting with you and having you present with us today and share your business and share your wisdom. And you can tell she has such a heart and soul for all of us cowgirls and growing our business, as does Caitlin. And Caitlin, again, thank you. Thank you for sharing your first experience. Wholesale shows can be a great experience, and there's so many things to learn, and we'll continue to try to share more and more information in the group and in other aspects of where we'll be sharing. This video will end up in our YouTube channel for you to either rewatch if you want to, and or for others to find and learn as well. That is cowgirlbiz.com is our main website. And then the YouTube is on YouTube. We are at Cowgirl Biz. So you can find us there and all the trainings that we're offering. We will, since we're over the hour, we were going to adjourn for now, but you know how to reach everyone. Thank you very much. Take care, everyone.
Bye.